Well, I'm getting my morning dose of CNN. I'm a news junkie, and I couldn't believe that I'm seeing that Roseanne Barr has been fired for these comments in Twitter. I'm like, now, okay, I get they have a show that can be controversial because, they're conservative and so on. But my God, she calls a black woman a monkey. They're comparing them with Planet of the Apes. Is this like 1940 or 1930? I'm stunned not because I haven't heard things like this before. In fact, it comes from the top all the time. I think that's part of what set the stage for this whole nonsense of this country trying to normalize racism under a veiled way. But someone like her, that people watch, millions of people, she didn't care. Racism is alive and well in this country, and that's what it showed me, even at a popular show on ABC, one of their highest rated. How on God's green earth do you stand there with all of those viewers from all different nationalities, and you're going to revert back to these same issues that black people have been fighting for decades? We can go back centuries. We fought in every single war this country has ever had simply for the right to be seen as Americans, to be seen as humans, to be seen as a species. There's books called The Bell Curve that prove, so-called, that black people's brains were smaller than white people. That's what makes this whole ridiculous, absurd thing that she says, that this woman is like an ape. Such an insult to every black American and every human being that has any common sense or dignity in this country. That's what racism is. It takes something that makes you feel better about yourself, and it says, at least I'm better than you. I'm happy that Disney had the courage to take one of their top-rated shows, potentially have it fail if they replace her, to step up and say that doesn't represent us. It's huge for a corporation in this day and age that are about stockholders and money to take that kind of stand and say, this is not going to work for us. I recently saw John McCain's daughter on The View, very upset about what was said about her father. A guy like that who gave so much to this country, being a prisoner of war for years, still being as strong and even suffering physical ailments to this day, and someone at the White House makes a comment about him. And basically he's like, okay, he didn't really do anything. The man's gonna die anyway. That is insanity. That type of cultivated disconnect from human beings should never happen anywhere, and it should not happen in America. So black people in America now are feeling like, here we go again. But they're up for the fight in places like this, and the magazines and media, the right-minded people of America, not that small percentage who want to go back there, we're not going to let them go back. And Rosie O'Donnell, I'm ashamed of her. Roseanne Barr, I'm ashamed of her. To say something like that to a mass audience of young minds, you're telling people what they should be and what this country is all about, because that's what you represent when you're on television. Unfortunately, we have a president who believes that the way to run America is to bring those old ways back. Make America great again is subjective. Making it great again for black people was when you were able to go out and get student loans to go to school, and the community was growing. There were a lot of education. The government understood that hundreds of years of racism and exclusion required some help from them to help right it. To a president who believes that the only good way was back when we were real nice and happy because we were being subjugated and raped and brutalized just because we were black. It's a species issue that we fought in this country, not just to be like race, species. We were literally defined as a different species, monkeys. This all goes back to saying, what is this man thinking? Because the people who think like them, they're a small part of this country, but they have a bigger voice than they've ever had before. And that's my biggest problem, not just from his policy, but that racism and that rubber stamp that he gives to say, no matter what you do, it's okay, as long as you're talking about them. America is a melting pot. I don't think you're ever going to hear anybody say Italians go back to Italy, Portuguese go back to Portugal. There's something going on with this race, and we have to do better. So I'm hoping that maybe this final thing will be the thing that makes him think differently, because he is the image of America to the world, not just to himself. And I hope the people that are watching, whether it's him or anyone else, turn to their kids and say, hey, maybe I have this wrong. Maybe I need to think about this for a minute. Shedding hate and sharing it is not the best thing for anybody anywhere, because that price will be paid, and we've paid it already. I'm quite sure that none of us should be apes anymore. We should all be human beings.